Time Splits video explores the time split tool used in Ages of Adam and the Holy of Holies. A time split divides given time frames by 2. Genesis 1:4 says God divided the daylight from darkness. Everything we call solar deals with the sun and daylight. Nighttime darkness relates to the moon. God is dividing, separating, or coming between light and darkness. Lunar phase and Sabbath days mark weekly transitions at night. God is between 7-day Sabbaths that separate visible moonlight and darkness. The complete lunar month returns the sequence to new moon crescent. God refreshes the lunar month after about 29.53 days to make the 12-month lunar year slightly more than 354 days long. Ancient people commonly recognized years having only 360 days. Some cultures, such as BCE Egyptian and later Roman empires, favored the solar year. They added a 5-day feast period to end the year and celebrate the new year. Earliest solar worship likely occurred in fixed city-state locations where Seth Egyptian obelisk and Canaanite Baal standing stones share masculine traits. Stone pillar sightings to the horizon note the equinox and solstice. Fertility rites likewise represent the deity with phallic symbolism. Agricultural rainy seasons determine how well stable populations survive. Mobile cultures were more nomadic and often classified as hunter-gatherers. They observed according to lunar-solar calendars. Other groups were entirely lunar calendar dependent. Isis had unique affinity with the moon and Venus. Astarte, or Astaroth, was depicted by a pregnant figurine and said to bless neighboring farms and groves. Feminine-masculine duality became imbued as goddess or gods with lunar-solar time splits in theme. Please take a moment to study these pictures and gain deeper appreciation for Genesis. Ancient ideas of God coming between lunar and solar transitions carry forward to longer calendar time cycles. Variable flux lines between lunar and solar sides focus power to yield a time split. We first apply 360 days as an early style year. Lunar-solar time split for 360-day tune year diagram balances the dual years. Mayan 360-day tune year terminology lends accepted calendar tools. Adding 5.25 days to the solar side component better suits Mayan calendar vocabulary used to develop later time splits. Equal reasoning subtracts 5.25 days from the lunar side component to result in 10.5 days of lunar-solar separation time for any single 360-day year. The green triangle time split emphasizes that God is between lunar years and solar years. 10 1/2 days of difference every year require intercalary time to keep lunar years on track with solar years. We build time splits to encompass longer time cycles. Lunar and solar years are rigid boundaries of all time. Time splits are the soft inner core. Intercalations and how they are used host the supernatural. Gaps, seams, and separations in time make possible divine presence. Time splits progress to include the Jewish calendar 19-year Metonic cycle. The next 20th solar year modifies the time split diagram. Similar lunar-solar calendars to the later Mayan gave rise to 20-year cycles. 20 multiples of 20-year cycles diagram the modified lunar-solar time split. We assembled the time split ramp that leads to Adam and the list of antediluvian patriarchs in Genesis 5. The Jewish calendar shows the Lord's presence by changing the days just after sundown, continuous weekly Sabbaths, and finally with lunar-solar separation time. The Jewish calendar currently utilizes a 19-year Metonic cycle. Some 209 days of lunar-solar separation time divide 19 lunar years from 19 solar years. Greek astronomer Metonic discovered 19 solar years coincide with about 235 monthly lunations in 432 BCE. 7 extra months add with 19 lunar years to make 6,940 days. Lunar-solar calendar systems were established long before Metonic. Geographically isolated groups worshipped according to various lunar-solar calendars. Metonic likely revised model lunar-solar rules that eventually became standard for all Judaism. Roman advances into Holy Lands pressured Hillel II to adopt the Metonic 19-year cycle in 359 CE. 7 intercalary months called Second Adar are added during the course of 19 years. Jewish calendar lunar-solar separation time measures about 209 days in the green triangle time split. God is between lunar and solar years. The next diagram adds one final 365-day solar year to the previous Jewish calendar Metonic 19-year cycle. Now we have a bridge spanning Jewish calendar and later Mayan calendar mathematics. The 20-year lunar-solar calendar cycle fits numerical matching concepts involving Adam and his son Seth. Notice first, 209 days approximate 210 days of lunar-solar separation time for the Mayan Katun 22-year cycle. The Mayan prefix term Katun modifies 360-day tune years to mean 20 tune years. The last 5 days in a solar year are designated special worship period and counted separately. The character Seth in the lower circle shows 105 days in darker green. Numerical matching takes place by equally dividing 210 days into 105 days for the lunar side feminine gender and 105 days for the solar side masculine gender. Adam introduces the first 130-day half of a Mayan 260-day Chokan sacred year. Solar side matching occurs between the masculine 105 days and Seth's age. The Jewish calendar 19-year Metonic cycle easily adapts to a Katun-style 22-year early lunar-solar calendar system. Fixed cultures in northeast Africa and Egypt may have used a Katun-style 22-year system prior to the Exodus. Early Israelites shifted to a more mobile lunar-solar calendar following Exodus 12:2. Egyptian cosmology concentrated upon a stricter solar calendar after about 1450 BCE. The fourth lunar-solar time split for Katun 20-year cycle diagram discontinues the circle to formally illustrate a 210-day time split. Again, 360 days, central point years yield 354.75-day lunar years and 365.25-day solar years. Minus and plus 105 days are the two equal time split halves for lunar and solar sides respectively. The green triangle diagrams 210 days of lunar-solar time split for every Mayan Katun 20-year cycle. Our use of the word Mayan describes a subset of indigenous elite personnel within diverse Mesoamerican culture. Mayans would compare with politicians, doctors, lawyers, and teachers in modern society. Aztec, Incan, and Zapan Mixtec, and Toltec are individual groups all sharing basically the same calendar system with minor variation. Ideology and respective deities were allotted to preside over time elements within the 260-day sacred year. The 360-day tune year is often labeled a civil year. From a Judeo-Christian perspective, multiple pagan gods mainly served agriculture. Two different types of lunar-solar based calendar years are ingrained with Mesoamerican reckoning. Their sacred pantheon operated between dual Chocan and Tun years to evidence similar notion as Mesopotamian culture. Original Bible calendar writers extended their modified 20-year lunar-solar calendars many thousands of years before Noah. They counted 20 multiples of Katun 20-year lunar-solar cycles to achieve the Mayan Baktun 400-year lunar-solar cycle. Saying 20 years of 20 years had no meaning, so they recorded 400 years. Time splits changed from 210 days to 210 years. The lunar side feminine gender half consists of 105 years, and the solar side masculine also has 105 years. Baktun prefixes 360-day tune years again in order to specify 400 tune years. Lunar solar time split for Baktun 400-year cycle escalates the next time split step. An entire 360-year lunar solar cycle is generated using 360-day tune years. In the green triangle, 210 years of lunar solar separation time yield the time split, placing God between 105 lunar side years and 105 solar side years. For every Baktun 400-year cycle, there are 105 years of solar side time split. Baktun 400-year cycles are steps within the antediluvian calendar secondary age category. Time splits progress divine presence from dividing day and night, weekly lunar phases, and entire moon months and lunar years from solar years. The Jewish calendar 19-year Metonic cycle incorporates aspects of lunar-solar calendar development that served ever-lengthening patterns. Earliest calendars expand lunar-solar time to eventually form the later Mayan calendar system. Archaeology suggests Mesoamerican calendar references began recording time about the 8th century BCE. Sacred Mesoamerican writings depict a far earlier lunar-solar calendar sequence had roots back to the time of Adam. The final time split circle delivers the ultimate revelation for the antediluvian calendar. Numerical matching reinforces 365 days and years in a single term. An ordinary 365-day solar year separates into the 260-day Chocan sacred year component and the 105-day portion. Likewise, a 365-year solar cycle has both the 260-year Chocan sacred cycle and 105-year components. The 260-day Chocan sacred year equally divides for two halves, each with 130 days. The 260-year Chocan sacred cycle also divides for two identical 130-year portions. Regarding the 365-day solar year, 105 days remain, and for the 365-year solar cycle, 105 years remain. Scriptural references reveal a primary age category for Adam with 130 years. Primary ages span from onset of each character until the age he begat the next named patriarch. The primary 130-year age of Adam is the foremost bridge joining the age of Adam to the Mayan 260-year Chokin sacred cycle. One Mayan 260-year Chokin sacred cycle combines the primary 130-year age of Adam in blue with an equivalent 130-year age in gray. The primary 105-year age for Seth in green shows numerical matching by connecting with masculine 105-year solar side reckoning. Adam fathers Seth when the antediluvian calendar reaches exactly 1/2 of the Mayan 260-year Chokin sacred cycle. Genesis 5:3. And Adam lived 130 years, and begat a son in his own likeness, after his image, and called his name Seth. Genesis 5:6. And Seth lived 105 years, and begat Enos. 2 Baktun 400-year cycles add to make Adam's first 800-year generation cycle in the secondary age category. Secondary age 800-year generation cycles continue for the later patriarchs. Altogether, the genealogy from Adam through Enoch lists 7 patriarchs or forefathers. Lunar-solar time splits mark halves and quarters division of the 260-year Chokin sacred cycle and 360-year ton cycles. Genesis 5:4. And all the days of Adam after he had begotten Seth were 800 years, and he begat sons and daughters. The secondary age category is a sequence numbering 1 to 13 increments of the Baktun 400-year lunar-solar cycle. One pair of Baktun 400-year cycles counts 800 years for each generation cycle. Generations of Seth, Enos, Canaan, Mahalalel, and Jared include the standard secondary 800-year generation cycle as repeating ages. The calendar stratum pattern concludes with Enoch's progression to translation during the last 13th 400-year Baktun cycle. Libraries abound with books and media about Adam's legacy. Many chronologies have been written. Timelines regress our modern calendar to a given past date BCE. Human culture is perhaps one of the most difficult topics to position, especially when physical artifacts are rare or non-existent. There are very few known events or handles in extremely remote prehistory. Rendering an accurate early timeline involves combining religion and science. Modern views about ancient society must rely upon whatever evidence distant people left, biblical or otherwise. The Holy Bible contains information directly applicable to earliest civilization. We know the Bible is a very old book. God ordained the sacred knowledge be written down and shared among people. Begat genealogies records of Genesis 5 meet lunar-solar criteria. The ladder-like calendar instrument is a floating chronology with identifiable segments and no definite BCE beginning or ending dates. Men or mankind naturally wrote this information according to their particular style and customary for the antediluvian patriarchal era. Ancients held the spiritual essence of using time splits as eternal. The time channel conveys the sheer will of God acting between time frames and in fluid regions between calendars. In every Holy Bible we can pick up and read, the numbers are always the same. Our modern challenge is to properly interpret those given ages.